What's up, YouTube? It's your boy, the one J Osh. Welcome back to the show. Hey, look, appreciate all y'all who are along for the ride on the road to 1,000 subs, man. The last video we did about Hurricane Andrew, 92. Come on now, your boy remembered. Good lord. But yeah, we did Hurricane Andrew. This video we are doing the infamous Hurricane Katrina, 2005. Your boy was like 8. So I was alive for this. Wasn't alive for the Andrew thing. Heard about Katrina, you know, obviously. Knew it was a bad thing. Knew stuff happened, but I just muted my mic on accident. Knew stuff happened. Didn't understand the severity because I was 8. So we're going to watch this video, and I guess it will dive a little bit more deeper into
August
the gravity of this.
2005, 9 a.m. From a helicopter circling New Orleans, you can see traffic still moving through highways leading out of the city. The mandatory evacuation order went out yesterday, and most people left. The Superdome sits solid and gray against the skyline, sheltering about 10,000 residents who had nowhere else to go.
I knew about the Superdome having people in there after the hurricane happened, like almost like a shelter.
Hurricane Katrina made landfall 3 hours ago near the Mississippi border as a Category 3, and the eye passed just east of New Orleans. The wind damage looks manageable, power lines are down, the Superdome roof is torn, but the city is still here. What you can't see from the air is the water. In the lower 9th Ward, families are already climbing into their attics as floodwater rises through their floors. This isn't rainwater. This is the Gulf of Mexico, tasting salty and dark, pouring through breaks in the walls that were supposed to keep it out. By tonight, 80% of New Orleans will be underwater. But this didn't start here. August 23rd. 4 days earlier, a tropical depression forms over the Bahamas and begins moving toward Florida. Meteorologists track it as System Number 12, watching it organize over warm Atlantic water. By August 25th, it has a name, Katrina, and enough strength to make landfall in South Florida as a Category 1 hurricane. 11 people lose their lives as the storm crosses the peninsula, but this is considered a relatively minor hurricane event. The real danger begins when Katrina emerges into the Gulf of Mexico on August 26th. The Gulf in late August is a furnace. Sea surface temperatures reach 86 to 88 degrees, and Katrina moves over an area called the Loop Current, a ribbon of especially warm water that acts like rocket fuel for tropical storms. Weather models start showing something alarming. By August 27th, Katrina's winds jump from 75 miles per hour to 115 miles per hour in just 12 hours. The storm is undergoing what
40 miles?
call rapid intensification, and it's aimed directly at the Louisiana coast. August 28th, 10 a.m. Katrina reaches Category 5 intensity with sustained winds near 175 miles per hour and a central pressure around 902 millibars, one of the lowest atmospheric pressures ever recorded in the Atlantic basin. The storm is now larger than the entire state of Louisiana. At New Orleans City Hall, Mayor Nagin makes a decision no New Orleans mayor has ever had to make. He orders the first mandatory evacuation in the city's history. The words come out steady, but everyone understands what they mean. New Orleans sits in a bowl below sea level, protected by a system of levees, flood walls, and pumps built by the Army Corps of Engineers over decades. If those barriers fail during a major hurricane, the city could fill with water like a broken swimming pool. Nagin tells residents they need to leave now, and he uses a phrase that sticks with people. If you stay, you need to have an axe in your attic to cut your way out. The evacuation that follows is both a success and a catastrophe, depending on who you are. Contraflow goes into effect on Interstate 10, Interstate 55, and other major routes. Inbound lanes reverse to outbound, creating massive one-way channels flowing away from the coast. Roughly 1.2 million people flee the region in what becomes one of the largest peacetime evacuations in American history. About 80% of New Orleans empties out in 36 hours, but 20% of the population means roughly 100,000 people stay behind. Some refuse to leave their homes, others want to leave but can't. New Orleans has a poverty rate of 23%, nearly double the national average, and 27% of households don't own a car. The mandatory evacuation assumes you have transportation, money for gas and hotels, and somewhere to go.
That's
If
hey,
you're
that's a high poverty rate. If anybody's from New Orleans and they watch this video, let me know if that poverty rate is still high like that or if it's changed
disabled
since
or
then.
poor, the evacuation order becomes a suggestion you can't follow. Stories like this are why I built Stormforge. If you want more real disaster breakdowns like
Shout out to
this,
Stormforge.
consider subscribing. Now, back to what happened next. August 29th, 6:10 a.m. Katrina makes its second landfall near Bourras, Louisiana, as a Category 3 hurricane with sustained winds around 125 miles per hour. The storm has weakened slightly from its peak intensity, but it has grown enormous. Hurricane force winds extend outward
That's
120 miles from the center. New Orleans sits on the western edge of the eye wall, which means the city experiences some of the storm's most violent winds and heaviest rain, but avoids the complete devastation of a direct eye passage. At the Superdome, chunks of the roof peel away in the wind. The power goes out, plunging 10,000 people into darkness and stifling heat. Outside, wind gauges record sustained speeds of 90 to 100 miles per hour before the instruments fail. Trees snap, power lines collapse, and windows explode in high-rise buildings. But people who lived through Hurricane Camille in 1969 or Hurricane Betsy in 1965 recognize this as severe but survivable wind damage. The killing hasn't started yet.
I'm sorry.
The real disaster
1969 and 65. Camille and Betsy. Yeah, your boy don't know nothing about that.
The storm surge. Katrina pushes a wall of Gulf water northward toward the Louisiana coast. In Mississippi, the surge reaches 25 to 28 feet in some locations, obliterating entire coastal communities. In Louisiana, the surge measures 15 to 19 feet in St. Bernard Parish and the lower Ninth Ward. But the unique danger in New Orleans comes from the way this water moves inland. The storm surge flows up. Shipping channels and drainage canals that connect the city to the Gulf, especially the Mississippi River Gulf Outlet, a shipping channel built in the 1960s that acts like a funnel, directing Gulf water straight toward New Orleans. As Katrina's eye passes east of the city, the surge pushes up these canals and slams into the flood walls designed to hold it back. The first failures happen along the Industrial Canal, which separates the lower Ninth Ward from the rest of New Orleans. Residents later describe hearing sounds like explosions or freight trains. What they're hearing is the catastrophic failure of concrete flood walls that have protected their neighborhood for decades. Water pours through multiple breaches in the canal wall, and the lower Ninth Ward, a predominantly black working-class neighborhood built on low ground, begins filling like a bathtub. Families wake up to find water rising through their floors. Within hours, the water reaches 8, 10, 12 feet deep. People who stayed behind climb into their attics, then onto their roofs.
I don't know if y'all ever been in a pool that deep.
But the Industrial Canal is only the beginning. Around the same time, 17 miles away, the 17th Street Canal flood wall suffers a catastrophic breach. This canal drains rainwater from Lakeview and other neighborhoods on the west side of New Orleans, but during Katrina, storm surge pushes up the canal from Lake Pontchartrain and overwhelms the wall. The breach opens to about 450 feet wide, and Lake Pontchartrain begins emptying into New Orleans. The Lakeview neighborhood, home to many middle-class families, floods rapidly. Then the London Avenue Canal experiences two major breaches, flooding the Gentilly area. By noon on August 29th, water is pouring into New Orleans from multiple directions. The pumps that normally remove rainwater from the city are either damaged or overwhelmed. The bowl is filling, and there's no way to empty it. What makes this flooding particularly deadly is how it behaves. This isn't a flash flood that rises and recedes quickly. It's more like a slow-motion drowning. The water rises steadily, inch by inch, hour by hour, until neighborhoods that looked normal in the morning are submerged by evening. People trapped in single-story homes have time to realize what's happening, but no time to escape. They retreat to second floors, then attics, then roofs. Some break through their roof shingles with hammers, axes, or kitchen knives. Others drown in their attics when they can't break through. The water carries a mixture of Gulf salt water, lake water, sewage, chemicals, and debris. It tastes salty and smells like death, and it keeps rising until it reaches depths of 10 to 20 feet in the worst hit areas.
20 feet? Bro, 20.
At this point, I'm curious what you think. Should this situation have been handled differently? Let me know your thoughts in the
My opinion on that is, I don't know if it should have been handled differently, or if it could have been handled differently. However, I feel like there should have been a whole bunch of discussions, and there should have been plans put in place in case of scenarios like this. We literally have so-called spots in our government where plans are supposed to be put in place in case of emergencies like this. I feel like it just sounds like this was handled very poorly, and there were some incompetent people that had no idea how to handle this or what to do or anything put in place for this.
comments. By August 30th, the scope of the catastrophe becomes clear. Approximately 80% of New Orleans is underwater. St. Bernard Parish.
I'm sorry, what? 80% of New Orleans is underwater. That's crazy.
The suburban area southeast of the city is almost completely submerged, some areas under 15 feet of water. The lower Ninth Ward looks like a lake dotted with rooftops. Bodies float in the streets.
Man.
Thousands of people are stranded on rooftops, in attics, or in the few buildings that remain above the waterline. The Superdome has become a putrid, dark shelter where 10,000 people endure broken
I just think
toilets,
about-
no air conditioning, and dwindling supplies.
Yeah, I just think about all them people like on the roof. It's hot. You know, you don't want to be in the water. Like for me, I know I'd be scared to get in the water. And it ain't because I can't swim. It's because I don't think everything from the bayou done got flooded over the hill. That's how I would have thought about it. I would have been like, hey, is there alligators in there? Snakes in there? All type of creatures in there. Not getting in the water. Can't drink the water. How they using the bathroom on the roof? No food, no water. Like, that's suffering, bro. It's sad. Like, what do you do?
Convention Center, which wasn't designated as a shelter, and dwindling supplies. The Convention Center, which wasn't designated as a shelter, fills with thousands more evacuees who arrive on their own, expecting to find food, water, and medical care.
Yeah.
Instead, they find chaos. The response to this crisis reveals failures that compound the natural disaster into a human catastrophe. FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, is supposed to coordinate disaster response, but the agency proves almost comically unprepared. Director Michael Brown, a former lawyer and Horse Association executive with no disaster management experience, seems to misunderstand the scale of the crisis for days. Supply chains collapse. Truckloads of ice and water are sent to the wrong locations or delayed by bureaucratic confusion. Communication between federal, state, and local officials breaks down completely. President George W. Bush, vacationing at his ranch in Texas, doesn't cut his vacation short until August 31st, and his first survey of the damage is conducted from Air Force One.
Wait, this man's on... Presidents get vacations? I didn't think that was a thing. You told me this man was on vacation, heard about this, knew about this, did cut it short, but didn't do it till the 31st. And this went down days, but
he flies over the devastation at
I don't know how I feel about
35,000
that.
feet, looks out the window, and continues to Washington. The image of Bush peering down at the drowned city from his airplane becomes a symbol of federal detachment from human suffering.
yeah.
But the most effective response comes from people who act without waiting for official coordination. The U.S. Coast Guard launches rescue operations immediately, pulling 33,000 people from floodwaters using helicopters and boats. Coast Guard pilots fly in conditions that ground other aircraft, hovering over rooftops to lift elderly people, families, and pets to safety. Local wildlife officers use their boats to navigate flooded streets, conducting house-to-house searches. Most importantly, hundreds of civilian boat owners, shrimp fishermen, recreational boaters, anyone with a shallow draft vessel, converge on New Orleans and begin their own rescue operations. They navigate using street signs barely visible above the waterline, following voices calling for help from attics and rooftops. These civilian rescuers, later called the Cajun Navy, save thousands of lives while federal agencies debate jurisdictional issues and logistics. The contrast between institutional paralysis and individual heroism becomes the defining characteristic of Katrina's aftermath. While FEMA struggles to deliver basic supplies, ordinary people risk their lives to save strangers. While federal officials debate legal authorities and chain of command, neighbors break down doors to check on elderly residents. While media reports focus on rumors of violence and looting, most of which are later debunked.
Violence and looting. Because that's what people doing in 12 foot and 12 feet of water. What? You know what else is funny? It's funny how like it takes stuff like this to realize like we always want to be like, everybody wants to be so divided. We got these higher powers that want us divided. We got the media want us divided. Everything's always about division. And it takes for stuff like this to happen to see the best in humanity. To see the best in people. It takes us to help us. Because the people we put in power and the arguments we be having and division we always have, all about this president, this politics, all this garbage. But when stuff really goes down, it takes us to help each other. Just food for thought, I guess. I don't know.
Exaggerated. The real story is people helping people.
We're all
in
people.
Conditions that would
We're all gonna
break
die
most
one day.
communities.
We all bleed. We all got a heart beating.
This disaster
We all
were
breathe
much
the same
deeper
air,
than the
bruh.
storm itself. Post-Katrina investigations by
We
the Army
care
Corps of
about the
Engineers
stupidest of
and
things
independent
and argue
researchers
about the
revealed that
stupidest
New
of
Orleans
things
flood
and
protection
are divided
system
by the
was
stupidest of
fundamentally
things.
flawed, even by its own
I don't know,
design
man.
standards.
I don't know.
The levees and flood walls were supposed to protect against a Category 3 hurricane, but they failed during a storm that hit the city.
And of course, every time some natural disaster, it takes a natural disaster. I was muting my mic again. It takes a natural disaster or some garbage to happen for us to realize, oh, this thing we had in place is trash. This thing we had in place is trash. Because it's not like y'all have inspections or inspectors to inspect it. Fire all of them. Fire all of them. That just pisses me off. Like, I love how we figure out, oh, this was always bad, or this should have been solved, or this has been a problem, and we find it out after something tragic happens. But you've had people inspect this for years. Nobody saw this till something happened. It just
Category 3 intensity.
like
The failures weren't caused by water overwhelming the barriers. They were caused by design errors, construction flaws, and inadequate foundations that should have been identified decades earlier. At the 17th Street Canal,
make
engineers
it up.
miscalculated soil strength and water pressure. Sheet pilings that anchor floodwalls to the ground were driven too shallow. Similar problems existed throughout the system.
Can't make
More
this up.
broadly, the disaster exposes how New Orleans had been engineered into vulnerability over decades. The city's location below sea level isn't natural. It's the result of pumping groundwater and compacting organic soils, causing the land to subside. The wetlands that once provided natural storm surge protection had been destroyed by shipping channels, oil and gas extraction, and development.
Wow.
The Mississippi River Gulf outlet, built to provide ships a shorter route to New Orleans, had turned into a highway for storm surge while contributing to coastal erosion. The city had been made more vulnerable to hurricanes. At the same time, its population grew more dependent on protective infrastructure that wasn't built to handle the risks. The human cost of these engineering and policy failures falls disproportionately on New Orleans' most vulnerable residents. Of the 1,577 people who lose their lives,
1,577 people died. See, that is something I don't remember from Katrina. I did not know. Wow. Man. Prayers, dude. Rest in peace, man. That's, dude. That's people's grandparents, kids, loved ones, brothers, sisters, moms, dads. Like, man, that's
in Louisiana,
sad,
over
bro.
half are elderly. The majority are African American. Many drowned.
Man, stop. What? Okay, I get it. I was in a predominantly African American, area. Okay. bruh. I don't care what race people are, bro. People passed away, bruh. It's sad, bro. And no matter what race it is, it's sad. People passed away.
In
Like
neighborhoods that have been
it's
home to black families for generations, areas that happen
that's
to sit on
sad,
the
bro.
lowest, most flood-prone ground because of historical housing segregation and urban planning decisions.
Okay, but I get what he's saying. Okay, I do. You know, they had the black community in the specifics, you know, lower middle class, all that stuff. You know, you had your classes, so then they put them in specific area during segregation, all this stuff. And it's been like this for a while. Like that's just been a black community. I get it. I get it. And that sucks. Y'all put them in that area. It's almost like you knew something could happen to that area. It's like I don't know. I don't like that. I don't like that you putting people in a specific area. Like you're trying to monitor something. I don't.
Poverty in vulnerable
Something don't sit well with me on that.
The disaster reveals how natural hazards interact with social inequalities.
Start judging people based off their character, not how they look. World would be a lot simpler. Again, food for thought. Like
to create what
we
researchers
put a lot
call
in race and all this
unnatural
garbage.
disasters. Events where the poorest people,
Some of the smartest, some of the nicest people I done met are black. Like some of the kindest, some of the people that'll pray for you, some of the people that are just generous. Like it's not about the race, man. It's not. It's about people's character. Judge people based off what they show you, not how they look. Can't be judging people based off how they look, man. It's not.
And receive the least effective protection. The aftermath of Katrina transforms New Orleans from a city into a debate about American values and competence. Images.
Oh no, it was
predominantly
incompetence.
black
There was
residents
definitely
stranded
no
at the
competence
convention
involved.
center, surrounded by National Guard troops with military weapons, raise uncomfortable questions about who gets protected and who gets treated as a threat during disasters. Early media reports describe widespread looting and violence, often using racial language.
Let's get it. Racial language is crazy. 2005, interesting. Well, we obviously know like there's injustices that still happen to this day. We also realize that, you know, racism still exists. You know, I think the media likes to big it up more, you know, to keep us divided. Again, because I feel like the type of person you are is basically, it starts at home. You know, it's based on how you was raised, you know, and like for me especially, I was raised to, you know, I never had a problem with like anybody because of their race, ever. Again, I was raised to love people. You know, it don't matter what color you is, treat people how you'd want to be treated, and judge people based off their character, not off of looks. Because like I said, some of the smartest people I know, some of the people that got the most money, some of the people that's the nicest are black people in my life that I know. It's not about how a person looks. It's not. We spend too much time divided. And we spend too much time divided over stupid stuff. To me, at least. I feel like it's a lot of stupid stuff we get divided over. Everything's division. Everything's trying to hype up division. Like anything. Media. Even sports media tries to keep us divided. They always want to debate. Like, it's stupid to me. But does looting happen? Yes. Like, and some people do use protests to loot. It happens. Let's not act like it's just one group of people doing this. It's not just one group of people that does this. Alright? I understand, like, sometimes you gotta understand. I don't care if you're white, black, whatever. If you're in a lower class area and some stuff goes down like this and there's some looting going on, I'm guaranteeing you every type of race is probably looting. It's not just one. Like, I don't like what we try to point out one race and stuff like that. And yes, I'm just messing with tweezers. I don't know why. I don't know why.
As criminals
I'm over here like
victims. Most of these reports are later corrected or debunked entirely.
Exactly. Like, see, that's what I'm saying. Y'all, they put out this bull crap. They put out this bull crap. They just wanted to hype stuff up. And then it gets later debunked or something. Like, what are we doing?
To public perception lingers. Meanwhile, the real story, tens of thousands of people displaced from their homes, separated from their families.
Yeah, we talking about looting. That's the thing. They try to twist stuff. They want to get away from the important stuff. We want to talk about all this looting and garbage like that, instead of all these people that don't have nothing now. No livelihood, no house, nothing. Memories gone, family members gone, pets gone, all type of stuff. But we want to talk about looting, instead of the government not doing their job and helping the people. Stop that. Stop that, bro.
Country receives less attention than sensationalized.
Make the main thing the main thing.
Chaos. The long-term recovery reveals additional layers of institutional.
Speaking of people who's supposed to be helping, FEMA don't never want to help nothing. And then you got, on top of FEMA being bullcrap, you got this garbage insurance. They like to be picky, real nitpicky too. Oh, is it wind damage? Is it flood damage? It's damage. My house is gone. Can I get something? I've been paying y'all insurance. Something. Like,
FEMA's trailer program.
I'm gonna start ranting on
displaced families in units later found to contain dangerous levels of formaldehyde. Insurance companies and federal agencies battle over what constitutes flood damage versus wind damage, leaving homeowners caught between policies that don't cover their losses. The process of rebuilding raises questions about which neighborhoods should be rebuilt and which should be abandoned.
Here we go.
Decisions that often break along racial and class lines.
Yeah.
New Orleans' population drops from about 485,000 before Katrina to about 230,000.
It's literally like cut in half almost.
2006. Many residents, especially African American families, never return.
I don't blame them.
Also demonstrates the power of community resilience and adaptation. New Orleans rebuilds.
Like I said, it takes us to help us.
But as something new. The levee system is redesigned and strengthened at a cost of
$14
billion. Coastal restoration projects begin the long process of rebuilding wetlands. The city's approach to emergency management is completely restructured. Perhaps most importantly, the civilian boat networks that emerged during Katrina become a permanent part of Gulf Coast disaster response. The Cajun Navy, along with similar volunteer networks, now deploys to major floods and hurricanes across the southeast, bringing the lessons learned in New Orleans to other communities facing similar threats. 15 years after Katrina, New Orleans remains vulnerable to the same forces that nearly destroyed it: hurricanes, storm surge, and rising seas. The improved levee system provides better protection, but climate change is making storms more intense and sea levels higher. The city continues to subside, and coastal Louisiana continues to lose land at a rate of about a football field every hour. The fundamental challenge hasn't changed. How do you protect a city below sea level in an era of more powerful storms and rising waters? The answer may depend less on engineering solutions than on social ones. Katrina showed that
See this? You see what I see here? You see what I see here? I see people. I see people. Coming together and when things are at its worst. If only the world could be like this more.
Engineering solutions than on social ones. Katrina showed that disasters reveal and amplify
we like to fight over stupid stuff.
in infrastructure, institutions, and communities. The communities that recovered most effectively were those with strong social networks, economic resources, and political power. The communities that struggled most were those that lacked these advantages both before and after the storm.
I said that wrong.
Building resilience against future disasters means addressing these underlying inequalities, not just building higher walls. New Orleans today is both more prepared and more vulnerable than it was in 2005. The flood protection system
That's
is
crazy.
stronger, emergency planning is more comprehensive, and the culture of disaster preparedness is more deeply embedded in community life. But the city also has fewer residents, less economic diversity, and ongoing challenges with poverty and inequality. Whether New Orleans can survive the next major hurricane may depend as much on social cohesion and economic justice as on levee height and pump capacity. The broader lesson of Katrina extends far beyond New Orleans or even hurricane preparedness. The disaster revealed how natural hazards interact with human systems, engineering, governance, economics, and social structures, to create catastrophes that are never purely natural. When those systems fail, the consequences fall most heavily on people who have the least power to protect themselves and the fewest resources to recover. The real test of any community's resilience isn't how well it handles predictable challenges, but how it protects its most vulnerable members when everything goes wrong at once. Hurricane Katrina didn't just drown a city, it exposed a country that had allowed one of its most culturally important cities to become a disaster waiting to happen, then responded to the disaster with a mixture of heroism and incompetence that revealed deep truths about American institutions and values. The storm lasted hours. The flooding lasted weeks. The recovery is still ongoing, and the questions Katrina raised about inequality, infrastructure, and institutional competence remain as urgent today as they were when the levees failed and the water started rising, and New Orleans learned what it feels like when a city realizes it cannot outrun the sea. Thanks for staying through this story. If you want to keep going, the next video on your screen dives into another disaster.
Shout out to Stormforge. Yeah, man. Yeah, this just showed a lot of incompetence and unpreparedness and really a lack of care. Again, I hate the racial. I hate anything really racial, bro. I'm gonna be honest with you. Because, like I said, we're all gonna die one day. I just find it stupid. To be honest, like, who cares how another person looks? Why are you worried about that? Another person looking however they look, it does not have nothing to do with putting food on your table and stuff like that. It just, I don't know. It just, we argue over stupid stuff. We divide over stupid stuff, and we just gotta be better, man. Like I said, love each other more, and like I said, judge people based off their character. That's my biggest thing. If I could leave anything with this video, judge people based off of their character and what they show you, not how they look. Simple. And yeah. But anyways, besides that, this was tragic. Again, most of the time when stuff like this happens, tragedy happens, it takes us to help us. You know, it takes people to help other people. Not no government, not other stuff. Like 9 times out of 10, we're the first ones in action. And that's when you get to see the best out of humanity. Other than that, man, prayers to all the people that lost their lives, the houses, all that stuff. Your family, your brothers, your sisters, your grandparents, pets, like, it's just sad. But yeah, I hope y'all like this video. We're going to do another hurricane video after this one. So, you know, we're on the grind to 1,000 subs. Like, share, comment, subscribe to your boy. It's J.O.Sh. and I'm out. Hee!